If you're an artist and you want to build your audience, something you can do that would really, really help you achieve that is content based around your music and what you stand for, and just essentially painting a picture for your audience about what your music is about using content. If you're an artist and you want to build your audience, something you can do that would really, really help you achieve that is create your own playlist in which you base it around your niche genre or interests that have to do with your music. And then you add your music to the playlist alongside a bunch of other artists that you sound like. And then you run ads on that playlist using visualizers. You can get a lot of traction that way. So those are the two things that I've seen work really well.
All right. How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Doing really well. Um, so I just wanted to say thank you once again for being a part of this. This is the UD live stream that we do for our community of artists. We've been growing our community of independent artists for the last 2.5 years and just giving them a platform to grow themselves and develop themselves and really just grow a fan base. And your content is something that I, as an artist, have been just watching, similar to a lot of other artists in the community as well. So definitely is a big pleasure to have you on the stream, just to have a chance to have a conversation with you and talk to you about just different things that we can learn in order to grow as artists as well, because you already teach so much about those topics. But I just wanted to get a little bit into about who you are as well. Oh wait, oh you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to start out by just getting a little bit into who you are to start it off. Yeah, so what inspired you to do what you do now in terms of just helping the artists learn how to grow themselves and just grow a career within their music and their art?
So I started out as an engineer, actually. I was
Nice.
helping a lot of artists engineer their music and just showing them how to mix and master their music and upload it to that piff and stuff like that. So I've always kind of been around music just because a lot of the people in my city were making music and I was around them trying to help them, push their music forward. So I essentially got into it that way. I was an engineer and I slowly started to pivot over to social media content where I was posting advice. And once I started doing that, a lot of people started hitting me up, to do their marketing. And that's kind of how I started.
Oh, nice. That's dope. So, how did you start getting traction within the marketing on social media, like the helping with the teaching people how to market their music?
So I started posting like videos telling artists that they need to market their music and they need to, do other things besides just release the music if they want to be successful. So I was like one of the first people to start talking about marketing in the music space. So essentially, I started posting advice and
Oh,
can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, yeah, I essentially just, help people, with their content and stuff like that just by posting advice, and my advice got out there, and that's how like people started knowing about me and started checking out my content.
Oh, that's really cool. When did you start putting out the content?
It was probably around like 2012, 2013.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. So you got it like onto it like fairly early onto it, because I know you said that you
Yeah.
were one of the first. That's really dope. So being somebody who was one of the first into the spaces, into the music marketing space and on Instagram, what has changed in the years since it first started?
Well, when I first started, you could kind of just say like basic stuff to people that, hey, you need to market your music or you need to build a team and stuff like that, and people would kind of gravitate towards that. But I feel like right now you can't just give that same advice as you would back in the days because, more people are awakened to music marketing. So it's like most people know everything that you have to do. So it's at the point where you have to always give them, advice that they haven't heard or, they're not thinking of, and, giving them practical things that they can do to further their career.
Yeah. No, I hear that 100%. Yeah, that's interesting that you say that as well because I seem to have the same mentality and thoughts as well when it comes to the content within our community because a lot of the community that we've built is a lot of really genuine and artistic artists who kind of are not inclined with the aspect of the like maybe turned off to the aspect of like making content as well because they
Hmm.
love the music aspect of it so much and I always kind of try to make the content based around how can you create and how can you promote even if this kind of promotion kind of turns you off and you're not very good at promoting as well so what's something you would say to an artist who's kind of not very inclined to the promotional aspect side of the music making, but is has phenomenal music?
So I would just tell them that, a lot of times when artists say things like that, they're usually just against content. A lot of artists don't want to post content and promote their music because they feel like it's gimmicky or it takes away from their music. But the truth is, you have to look at where people's attention is at, and it's currently on the phones, on social media platforms, and that's like what they're using to get their to figure out what's out there and what's made for them. So, if you're an artist and you don't want to promote yourself, you have to understand that well, all this is just a time in the moment that is not no longer, like social media is not always going to be there as far as like Instagram and Facebook. Things evolve. So you just have to look at this time as like a time in the moment where you need to use these platforms to build your audience and get ready for what's coming next.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Building the audience is definitely the crucial part of it, like the making that aspect like grow. What would you say are some things that help that you've seen help artists build their audience and actually grow a core fan base to where they actually support the artist?
So, I would say it's a few things as far as like content, just having a content based around, your music and what you stand for, and just essentially painting a picture for your audience about what your music is about using content. And another thing that I've seen work that's really well is a playlist, building your own playlist. Like if you're an artist and you want to build your audience, something you can do that would really, really help you achieve that is create your own playlist in which you base it around your niche genre or interests that have to do with your music. And then you add your music to the playlist alongside a bunch of other artists that you sound like, and then you run ads on that playlist using visualizers, you can get a lot of traction that way. So those are the two things that I've seen work really well. People who can create content based around their interests and values that relate to their music, and then people creating their own playlist and running ads on them.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw you speak about that in one of the pieces of content that you created as well. And I thought that was a really good way to do that. So, would you recommend to um, just add music that's in the same genre or add music that's morally in the same general like topic of what the song is about?
It depends on the playlist. So you want your playlist to either be based around interests that relate to your music or a niche genre of music that is similar to yours or that you're making, and just essentially use that information. I mean, run ads towards other artists' audiences that also make similar music to you or align with the type of playlist that you're making, and then just run ads essentially to those people.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. Um, as somebody who shares advice on how artists can market themselves and grow their fan base. What's something that you've seen artists implement? What's advice that you've seen artists implement that they've had success from that you've seen like directly?
Advice that I've given them.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I've seen artists essentially like they'll put out a lot of content, but their content is all over the place. It's like, one picture is about what they ate, another picture is about, who they're with or what they're doing, and then like everything they're posting is like just not based around the same niche and interest. So stuff that I've been telling artists to do is instead of having your content all over the place, come up with some interest and topics that relate to your music and just keep posting content based around those things versus, having a variety of content. Because the reason why I say that is because the algorithm, favors consistency. Once they know what type of content you're posting, they know who to put you in front of. So, advice that I've seen work really well is just me essentially telling artists instead of posting content about random things all the time, come up with two or three topics that relate to your music and just keep posting content about those topics.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, keeping the focus on a specific topic for sure.
Mhm.
Um, what's something that you see that a lot of artists do that a lot of artists do with the intention to try to grow, but it's a mistake that they shouldn't do?
Um, a big mistake I would say is when they're trying to grow is a lot of them chase virality. They want to just become, they just want to go viral as possible instead of, thinking about longevity and trying to, build the audience that will stick around with them for a long time. So instead of chasing virality and, trying to go viral, what you should chase is, authentic connections and conversions to people who listen to your music. So that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see artists make is chasing virality versus chasing a core audience.
Yeah. And the core audience is going to be there ongoing and be there to like support them as artists. Um,
Right, correct.
so in our community that we have in New Jersey, we have a lot of artists who are working towards making their music a career for themselves and having a fan base that's going to uphold them in order to have a career off of the music. Um, what's what are some things that they can do in order to uphold a fan base, whether it be they have 20 fans, what's something they can do with those 20 fans in order to just continue to make them even more core supporters of them and have them stick around?
So what I would do is kind of like I wouldn't say Discord, but having like an email list and a text messaging list where you're like communicating with them consistently is one of the best ways. So if you have fans, even if it's just 20 fans, you want to go direct to consumer with them. You want to, text them, you want to email them, you want to keep them engaged in what you got going on, by sharing, stuff that is exclusive to them in that mailing list or that text messaging list and just essentially keeping them a part of your journey by having their contact information and consistently communicating with them.
Right. So just keeping consistently in contact with them and engaging with them consistently.
Correct.
Okay. No, absolutely. Um, within that same within that same breath, what's something that they can do in order to gain funding to their fan base, such as like selling merch or like ticket sales or such like that?
Honestly, when as an artist, you could sell merch and stuff and do what people are what the average artist is doing, which is definitely possible to sell a lot of merch as far as like when you're touring and you're doing shows, you can sell a lot of merch at those shows. So I would say for artists, there's not really that many options as far as like what every artist is doing. You got merchandise, you got tickets, you got features, you got sponsorships. But something that I would do to take it a step further is create my own services as an artist. If I was an artist and I knew how to mix and master, I would have my own separate website and channel based around mixing and mastering and, giving people advice based around some of the things that I knew how to do as an artist. So if you're an artist and you know how to graphic design, or if you're an artist and you know how to mix and master, you can turn those skills into services that you can service other artists with and make a lot of money so you can use that money to fund your career.
Right. Yeah, utilizing all the skills that you got as an artist for sure.
Right.
Um, what gave you the when I watch your content, I definitely, especially for how long you've been doing it as well, the longevity of you of teaching artists how to market themselves. Um, that has to take some sort of passion and to stay with it in the longevity. What gave you the passion to help artists learn how to grow themselves?
Honestly, ever since a kid, I loved music, and I always knew I wanted to be around music somehow. But I also loved marketing, and I just loved like getting people's attention and building, communities based around your values and your interests. So like it was always just the love for music and just wanting to see, being a part of artists' successes because I always like I would always watch, music videos and listen to songs that I really liked it, and I was always wondering, always kind of like fantasizing about helping artists get to that position. So I just kind of like had love for the music and just wanted to, help artists that I felt like were talented, reach success.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and definitely as an artist myself, and as somebody who runs like an artist community as well, it's definitely something that's so beneficial and monumental to the artists who gain that value within that for sure. So I think you're doing something very special. Um, we're live streaming this right now on YouTube, and we have some of the community in the chat right now who are asking some questions. I just wanted to ask you some of the questions that we're getting right now.
Okay.
Um, One of the questions that we have is how do you convert smaller viral moments on socials into plays even when your song is featured in in the content?
So one of the best ways to do that is actually with conversion campaigns. If you have a piece of content that's going viral for a song and people are really liking it, you can do a conversion campaign on Meta.
Oh, it started freezing a little. Oh shit. Hello. Oh, did we lose him?
Hello?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened.
Oh no, I was just out for a second, but it's good now.
Yeah, so I was just saying, artist, if you have a piece of content going really, really well, you want to run a conversion campaign on that piece of content to direct people towards the landing page where they can play that song. So meta conversion campaigns is a great way to take music that, I mean, content that's already going viral and retargeting it towards people who are, want to listen to it on Spotify. Because the problem is, like, if you go viral organically, the platform you're going viral on, it's not optimizing to take people off the app. They're not optimizing to, leave the app because, obviously Instagram and TikTok, they want to keep as many people on the app as possible. So that's why sometimes when you go viral with content or organically, you don't get that many streams because it's not optimizing to take people to Spotify. So what you can do with conversion campaigns, you can optimize that piece of content that's went viral and trigger people to go on Spotify and play the song versus just staying on the app and engaging with the video.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because that's a big thing as well. Like getting the people to actually listen to the song and like stream it, not just like play the video and don't pay
Hmm.
attention to it. For the artists who are um, grinding every day to make content, but the content isn't converting for them, what would you say are some pieces of content that you see artists utilizing that work that they can incorporate to build their platform?
So one problem that I see a lot of artists have is the fact that they don't have good hooks in their videos. So the type of content that I see working right now is like content where people have like a random video play where like hooks people in and then they like play their song or do show their music video. But you got to make sure that that hook matches with the type of song that you're making, you know. You can't just take like a random clip and do that with it. You have to find like a clip that's already going viral that matches the, you know, the vibe of your song, and you have to use that as your hook for like the first 3 seconds. And then once people watch the video and they get past the 3 seconds, that's when you talk about your song or, you know, play a part of your video or just direct people towards your music.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So like give them something to connect to the song. Not don't just like give them the song. Give them something that will hook them into the actual song itself.
Yeah, right. So you can take like content that's already gone viral within your niche and you can use that as a hook. And then, you know, you can come, you know, you can have yourself talking about your song at the end of the hook or, you know, playing a part of your video or something like that. And yeah, those that type of content really does well.
Yeah. Um, in terms of having longevity, do you think that the connecting the people to the actual song itself is going to build more long lasting actual like core supporters rather than just putting out the music that's just putting it out for just people to consume?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just putting it out for people to consume, people are not just gonna magically find it, you know? So you have to like do your job to promote it and get it out there. So I would say yeah, you would have to consistently, you know, promote it to get that long-term audience and get people to consume it versus just putting it out and, you know, waiting.
Yeah. How can artists who are um, say more artistic and true to the art, or say like old school in terms of promotion, how can those artists stay true to the art but also use smart marketing in order to grow their music and their platform?
Honestly, I would say like if you're a musician and you have to market yourself, I feel like that like takes could take away from your creativity in a sense because you're spending time doing it. So what I would say in that situation is find some people that you can bring onto your team that handle all the marketing and stuff for you, and you just kind of focus on music. But there is things that you can be doing, like going live with your audience, you know, communicating with the, engaging with comments and stuff like that, just to, you know, keep your audience engaged. But ultimately, um, you want to have a team that's doing this for you, so that like you're not taken away from your creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, would you encourage artists to utilize TikTok more to build the audience or Instagram more or
Honestly,
both?
I would use both for sure, but if I had to choose for most artists, I would say build on TikTok just for the simple fact that you can experiment a lot more with TikTok, especially if you're a new artist. Like you can experiment and shoot content that you like to shoot versus like on Instagram, it's, you know, a bunch of mostly high quality content, more like highlights, you know, of people's days versus, you know, TikTok where people you can just post anything. You can have a simple conversation on TikTok and go viral. I just like the algorithm on TikTok a lot better. You know, there's more
Yeah.
experimental, and I think I would side with TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of kind of more attraction on TikTok with my music promotion than on Instagram for sure. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Um, what's a good schedule that artists in 2025 can follow in order to grow a fan base, say by the end of the year?
A good schedule as far as how much times to post and when to post.
Yeah, like how frequently, how consistency to post, how frequently to post music, content.
So honestly, if you're undiscovered and you don't have a fan base, I would suggest that you post as much as possible because you don't have anything to lose. When you have no fan base, no one's gonna unfollow you by because you're posting too much. So I would just post as much as you can. If I was an undiscovered musician and I wanted to become, famous, I would be posting 3 to 5 times a day just to get just to experiment and see what type of content is working for me before I double down on that specific type of content. So typically you want to post 20% of your content should be based around your music, and the other 80% should be based around things that have to do with your music that are more for explore tab. So like getting content out there that essentially puts you in the explore tab and grows your audience. And as far as like when to post, I would post between 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time because that's when everyone's awake. So I would definitely post as much as you can and try to post within those timelines and post content that you feel like can bring fans in that want to actually listen to your music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Yeah, to have that consistency and also do the content that brings people in. So, do you have any examples of the more explore page pieces of content that artists can utilize?
Yeah, so for example, if you're an artist that makes rap music or something like that, you can like shoot a bunch of freestyles. You can shoot a bunch of freestyles that are based around music, and you just displaying your skills. And a lot of that type of content, for example, hits the algorithm pretty consistently. So I would just find something you're really good at as an artist. So for some artists, obviously you want to put your songs out and make people a fan of your, actual official singles, but you have to take other things that you're good at doing, such as like freestyling or maybe comedy skits and stuff like that. And you want to post as much as that content as you possibly can as well, because that's what's going to put you in Explore tab.
Right. Do you think that is it a necessity to go viral in order to build a sustainable fan base to where it's a career for yourself, or can you do it without a viral moment?
You can definitely do it without a viral moment because if you know who your audience is and you're just posting content consistently for them, you might not go viral, and get millions of followers overnight, but you can get, 100, 200, 300 followers a day just by staying consistent and posting content consistently. And eventually you get to the point where you have, hundreds of thousands of followers and people that know about you. So I would just definitely say, like you could be successful without going viral. It just comes down to the consistency. You have to have a good output as far as how much content you're putting out and things like that, to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because it doesn't need to be millions in order to have a actual career and fan base that's
Right.
somewhere decent. Honestly, absolutely. Um, so I'm not gonna hold you for too long. I'm just gonna ask one more question from that we have from the chat because we got a bunch of them. Um, let's see here. Are running boosts to your Instagram posts instead of full meta ads? Is it good for growing your following to boost your content?
So if you run a boost post and you notice yourself getting followers, then it's not a bad investment. But the problem that with the boost post is like you pay a service fee of 30% if you're on Apple, for example. If you're on Samsung and you boost post, you don't pay that extra fee. So if you have a Samsung, I'm not fully against you doing the boost post because it could get you some followers and it could, boost your account. But ultimately, you want to run them through the ads manager on Meta because that's what's going to give you the most control and who to target, because when you just do boost post, you don't choose who's seeing your content. They're just pushing it out to who they feel like is the best uh, for it and or to gain followers. But with the Meta Ads Manager, you can target more precisely, and you can tell it who you want to show your content to, options, and you can create custom and lookalike audiences and stuff like that. So Boost Post is okay, but there's no retargetability, and that's kind of why most marketers don't do it.
Okay. Okay. Um, would you recommend to boost the post after you see it already getting natural traction, or do you recommend to just boost it even if you don't see it get traction just like right away?
Typically, I tell artists to post content organically first and see what's getting the most traction, and then take that piece of content and boost that one or run ads on that one.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it to see which one already works and then just give it more fuel to the fire. Honestly, I think it would be
Right.
the primarily the best way. Um, okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all that I have for you. I appreciate you so much for joining us today and answering questions and taking time out of your day as well. And I think it's amazing what you're doing for the independent artists to give them the knowledge to be able to uphold themselves as independent artists, honestly, and be able to grow themselves as well. I wanted to also just give you the floor and to be able to say whatever you wanted to say. If you wanted to give any advice to the independent artists we have in our community, if you wanted to let them know a little bit about what you're doing as well, you have the floor.
Okay, yeah. So the one thing I wanted to talk about is our TikTok workshop. I'm doing a TikTok workshop pretty soon on my Instagram, promo_God33. If you guys are interested in coming to the workshop, definitely come by to my Instagram. If you have any questions for me, if you feel like I didn't answer something all the way correctly or efficiently enough for you, you can ask me on Instagram any questions, and I'll get back to you as fast as possible.
Absolutely. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll stay in touch with you guys. I like what you guys are doing, and send me some clips of this. I'll post it on my Instagram, and we'll go from there.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely want to stay in contact. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. I'll see you.
All right.